let's get into the steps
Okay.
to go from working with hotel owners walking their dogs to global brands.
So here are those steps. And this is just from our experience. Step number 1, hone your craft. I think one of the ways we have really developed over the years, it sounds simple, but is to practice and learn by doing. So when we started out and we said, we can help you with your social media, we were building our own social media channels. We were learning, constantly reading articles, learning new strategies, going to events to learn about how we could improve our social media skills. So the first step is really to focus on honing your craft and doing whatever you can do to get as good as you can at it. Maybe that's getting qualifications, if you're an accountant, or it's getting training, or...
I think this is the mistake most people make to not working with bigger clients over the years and just staying with those small businesses, because there are a lot of coaches and people doing courses and stuff that teach you how to sell to these bigger clients and to raise your prices and all this sort of stuff. And I see it online all the time. And I know that in the long term, it just won't work for you. There isn't
because they're not actually good.
You're not good enough yet to work with the bigger client.
And that's not like being condescending or anything.
No.
It's just like we weren't good enough to sell to global brands.
I think if you're working with like one-man bands and very small businesses at the moment, and you think you're good enough to work with the biggest brands in the world, you're probably wrong. I think we've all got to accept that we have so much to learn. And if you think you know everything and you're good enough to work with those brands at the moment, but you're not, I think it'd be good to reflect and actually think, no, I've still got a lot of learning to do, because just focusing on how to win the bigger clients rather than focusing on being able to do a better job for those clients is where I think the biggest mistakes made a lot of the time.
That's such a good point. And I think this is where the whole grow via stepping stone clients comes in. If you're working with small local hotels like we were 6 or 7 years ago, don't expect to, in a week's time, work with global brands. Over years, you need to slowly increase the caliber of the client that you're working with. And across that period of time, that gives you an opportunity to hone your skills and hone your craft, to try different types of projects and different work so that you're constantly developing and the quality of what you're doing is evolving in line with the caliber of client that you're working with. That's a really good point.
Even if you get a lucky break and you've been on one of these courses that tell you to double your prices and attract these bigger clients, if you don't improve what you do, that will just be a one-off. So you'll do that. At some point they'll realize that you're not delivering at a level that they need you to, and you'll go back down to working with the smaller budgets and the smaller clients. So in the long term, it doesn't make sense, and that takes loads of your resources, and you're back to square one. So I think out of all the steps, this is the one most people miss and never get on to the other steps.
Step 2, build the right relationships. Your net worth is your net work. Is that the saying? No, your net's work is your net worth.
Cheesy.
That is the cheesiest thing we've ever said on the podcast. But it does hold some truth. Mm-hmm. Like, if looking back at a lot of the opportunities that have come our way, they've come because we've built relationships with the right people at the right time. So really think about who in your industry can you start to build relationships with, not just people who you want to become your clients, but who knows your clients, who already has an influence over your clients that you can start to build a relationship with, and we've done this through a number of ways. In the early days, looking back, we wrote for some industry leading publications and built relationships with people who owned those big media outlets that allowed us to get our message to their audience. That was one kind of approach we've taken. We've built relationships with other marketers like us who work in different parts of the country, who have opportunities come their way that aren't right for them, that they can pass on to us. So really think about that.
Most people talk about referrals and word of mouth, as in they work for a client and then they refer them to another business. But we've taken it to another level, and I would encourage any of you listeners to do it, where we've had work referred from a business owner that sat at a table at an awards ceremony with us once. And we just were normal people and being nice and interested in what he had to say. And that grew to us winning a client. We've won work from other marketers, as Dan said, which a lot of people see as competition, who have passed over leads to us that weren't quite right for them. And we've made hundreds of thousands from those referrals from people that are competitors in most people's eyes. So it's not just referrals and like networking and getting those recommendations from people you've worked with. It's all of the other people you're meeting day to day in your business that's really important as well.
And I think they need to be genuine relationships as well.
Yeah.
Like you can sniff a mile off if someone's just trying to be like, hey, what do you do? Here's my business card. Like it needs to be genuine and it needs to be kind of mutually beneficial rather than just...
There's people that just try and do it as like a hack of, oh, I'm going to build relationships with people, but they don't really give a shit. You can tell they're talking to you and they're asking all these questions, but it's like a robot, like pretending to be interested in you.
Like when we were in San Diego at like a networking party out there, and a woman literally interrupted a chat we were having with these two lovely women, shoved her business card in Lloyd's face.
Two lovely women?
In a business scenario.
Okay. Ooh.
Shoved their business card in Lloyd's face and said, but basically asking him, what problems do you have with this kind of thing? Just so that she could go, we've got the solution. And it was just really
rubbish.
Cringe. But yeah, step number 3, milk the top 10%.
Sorry.
Stop talking over me, Lloyd. When we transcribe this, it's difficult because you talk over me.
3.
Okay. So milk the top 10%. What we mean by milk to the top 10% is, remember earlier I mentioned those stepping stone clients?
Yes.
The clients that are taking you up a notch in terms of the caliber. They may be a larger client. They may be more well-known. They may be more credible. Whenever you work with those clients that are taking you up to that next level, you need to milk the hell out of that in terms of your marketing to tell the world, look at this great work we've done with this client that's of this caliber. And what that's going to do is attract more of those higher caliber clients, rather than, you may still do some work with a small local hotel or a small cafe, but you don't really want to attract more of those. You want to attract more of the bigger clients that have more budget, that value what you do more, that don't take up as much of your time. So that's where you're milking the top 10%.
I've heard a lot of people talking about this, saying like, oh, I've had these 1 or 2 clients and the budgets for them and what I charge is like 10 times what most of the work I do is. And then you look at their marketing and you don't see any evidence of those big projects that they want to win more of. You just see so say they're £10,000 projects, you see all of this evidence of these £1,000 projects in their marketing. And you kind of think, well, what you're showing the world is that I do these £1,000 projects. So there's not going to be a £10,000 or a £12,000 project looking at your marketing and thinking that's the right person for me. So yeah, it makes logical sense when you think of it, but it's hard to get in that mindset sometimes.
Exactly. And here's a practical example of how we're about to do this. So we mentioned that we did one of our most ambitious projects yet with a global brand, teamed up with a Netflix series. As soon as that project goes live, we are going to be milking the hell out of it. So we're going to be plastering it all over our website and putting it as a case study on our website and prominent on our homepage and really creating a whole load of content to promote that.
Sorry, yeah. I was just laughing because I was thinking you're saying really good stuff and I'm just mooing over you, just being not adding any value. Apologies. Moo.
Really great addition to the podcast.
Yes, thank you. What's step 4 then?
Step number 4, constantly innovate. So even if what you do works really well and you're currently in a place where you're like, we're really attracting lots of great clients and our whole marketing strategy is working really well, we've learned from this, you don't want to become complacent, because what you're doing now to attract those clients isn't necessarily going to work as well in 1 month, in 6 months, in 2 years. So you constantly need to be thinking, what are the latest platforms? What are some new techniques? What are some new approaches that we can start using to attract new clients? I'll give you an exact example of this. So in 2017, we discovered this new approach to marketing. We call it advertainment, where you produce entertaining content that attracts new clients. And one of the types of content we did in that kind of scenario was skits or sketches, where we acted out relatable marketing situations. And then in that skit or sketch, we would have some key messages to sell what we did as an agency. And it worked incredibly well. And a load of our work came from that approach. But even when we're at the height of that generating new business for us, Lloyd and I sat down and said, we're in a situation now where this is working incredibly well, but we need to look for new ways to get business. And I remember you even saying this to me, because we can't just rely on that forever. So then we we always say, 20% of your marketing should be testing new things. Our Business Anchors podcast, this podcast was a test in February 2020. It's now one of our biggest revenue generators. We're now looking to grow on TikTok, to really experiment with the content on there. In the future, I believe that's going to be one of our biggest revenue generators. So it's constantly about innovating.
I agree. No mooing from me. Step 5.
Step 5, hire people who are more skilled than you. When we look back at the terrible videos I used to make,
sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we were in agreement. They were terrible. Then Lloyd came on board and the videos were much, much better.
Absolutely brilliant. Perfect.
When you used to use Cyberlink Pro to edit your videos.
Cyberlink, yeah.
Was it called Cyberlink Pro?
Something like that. Cyberlink Director Pro. I think.
Yeah. And then since then, we're always looking to hire people who are more skilled at their craft than we ever have been, because that's going to help us increase.
This is a game changer. And last week was a great example of this on the shoot that we did last week, where we took most of our team over working on that shoot, and to see everyone working together and with the other people we're working with, actors and some freelance people we're working with as well. It was amazing to see. I think at any one point there were 5 to 10 people doing much better than me and Dan could have ever done in those roles. So if you think about it, of course, you're going to be doing much better work if you've got those people doing so brilliantly at their thing that they're good at. And this is another one where I think a lot of people don't get past. People want or think that they need to know everything, otherwise their employees won't I think it's like they won't respect them because they need to know more than them, where I think it's the complete opposite. You need to be basically supporting these people that are better than you to do a brilliant job and just giving them any support they need, but not expecting to know absolutely everything, because that's just going to be impossible to build your business if you need to know more than everyone else.
Great point.
There's some stuff that me and Dan know more about, obviously, the things that we're responsible for.
I think the bigger picture, like vision for the business and stuff, that's what we're focusing on, and constantly innovating.
We've got to be better than anyone else at. And we won't expect Taylor, who's in the room now, to be better at that side of things. Maybe one day we will. But at the moment, just like Taylor won't expect me to be doing what he does, setting up all the cameras and making all our videos brilliant and everything.
They'd be terrible if you did that.
Exactly. Well, I used to, and you can see the massive difference, and Taylor's much better than me at that. So yeah. I mean, we should do a swap one day and just see how terrible we both are at the things we're not good at.
Yes, that'd be good. Step 6.
Oh, there's more.
Focus on personal development. There's only a couple more.
Okay.
Focus on personal development. Something we really try and do a lot of is focusing on learning new things. Lloyd and I both listen to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of audio or books and audio books, and consume a lot of content to really try and be sponges to soak up as much information as possible to learn new things, especially in our industry where things are changing literally every hour. There's a new update going on a social platform, or there's a new platform to look out for. We need to stay up to date with all of that stuff, and we focus a lot of and also we kind of both enjoy learning stuff.
But it relates to the first step, the point I made when you said about the first step of getting better at what you do. If we were thinking now that we just know everything we need to know to be the biggest and most creative agency in the world, then we would fail. Well, I think we know that there's so much more we need to learn to keep taking those steps and doing better and better work and learning.
Yeah. And step 7, final step, is to keep a level head. Again, from our experience, in business is like a roller coaster. There's lots of ups and downs on the journey of growing your business. It's never just an uphill.
Life is a roller coaster, just gotta ride it. Oh yeah.
Thanks, Lloyd. You have been brilliant in this episode.
I think that was Roland Keating that sang that.
That was it. Where were we when we were talking about good stuff?
Sorry.
So it's full of ups and downs, and I think in the early days, I remember when we won like a project that was maybe a couple of £1,000, and to us at the time we'd won the lottery. We would literally stop working and like go down the pub and be like, well, let's book a holiday. And now we've obviously realised that we're much more conservative now, and even when we've had massive highs, like for example, I think the last month or two have been one or two of our best months ever in the business, but I don't feel like in my mind I'm celebrating because there's still a long way to go. So I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. But what about the next, 6, 12,
More
12
about
months?
the kind of trend line of where things are going rather than because there's lots of up and downs along the way. So obviously we're going in the right direction and gradually we're heading towards our goals. But when you have that big peak of something brilliant happening, it's also understanding, there'll be challenges as well. And it's not just always up, and it won't be always down when you have those challenges. It will.
And it is important to be conservative with your kind of cash flow as well. If you've got a massive new deal and then they pay you a chunk of that money, don't suddenly go out and like buy a new car or watch because
we had this I think last month it just worked out that a number of clients paid chunks at the same time. So if we looked at that, we be again like, hey, let's go on holiday. Obviously we've got to spend all that money on stuff to deliver the work and
pay all our staff
wages. So you can't look at that month, the next 2 or 3 months because we've had all that payment. We're going to be spending that money now. So you've got to look at the big picture and ride the highs and lows. Life is a roller coaster. You've just got to ride it.
Ride it.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So there's the steps. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into our journey from working with small local micro businesses to global brands. And do keep an eye out for this latest project we've done. There'll be a case study on our website, and we're constantly posting behind the scenes content on our socials. So if you found this useful as well, please let other people know about the Business Anchors podcast, because hopefully more people will gain value from this.
Let us know in 5 years when you've done all those steps and yeah. It'll take a while, but it'll be worth it. Life is a roller coaster. You've just got to ride it.
Oh yeah.